Hi there, and welcome back to Happy and Healthy. I'm Amy Lang, and if this is your first time here, welcome, welcome, welcome. You have landed in a space where we talk about how to take care of your brain and body using proven strategies and based on the latest evidence. So today, I want to start with something that might surprise you. What if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to protect your brain, one that cuts your risk of early death by nearly 50%, isn't a pill, a workout, or a diet, but simply connecting with other people? Real, meaningful human connection. Crazy simple, right? And here's why this matters more than ever before. Loneliness has now been identified as one of the novel or new risk factors for dementia. So, right alongside the ones we talk about all the time, like poor sleep, high blood pressure, and type 2 diabetes. And in this episode, we're diving into why social connection is one of the most overlooked yet powerful protective factors for dementia and long-term brain health. And it was inspired by a recent New York Times article I shared on Facebook on superagers, which are defined as people 80 and up who have the same memory ability as someone 20 to 30 years younger. Okay, in other words, they've avoided cognitive decline associated with both normal aging as well as diseases like Alzheimer's. So I want you to think of this episode as part one of a conversation that we're going to keep expanding, because this topic is a big one and it's important. All right. So, what is social connection? Let's start by defining it, and not just in the Facebook friends kind of way. Okay. Dr. Brene Brown defines connection as the energy between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment and draw strength from the relationship. That's real connection, the kind that fuels you. But there's also science behind this. So Andrew Huberman, probably the most well-known neuroscientist right now, explains that from the moment we're born to the day we die, our brains are wired for social bonding. We literally have dedicated brain circuits and even hormone systems like oxytocin, the love hormone, built for connecting with others. So connection isn't just a nice to have. It's literally hardwired into our biology, right? Now let me tell you about one of the most remarkable studies in human history. So for over 80 years, Harvard researchers followed the same group of people, tracking their health, their relationships, and their choices. This is the longest running study on adult development ever conducted. And after 8 decades of data, here's what they found. The single best predictor of health, happiness, and longevity wasn't income or career success or the Mediterranean diet or even genetics. It was the quality of our relationships. So people who are more socially connected to family, friends, and community lived longer, were happier, and here's the kicker, they had sharper minds well into their 80s, 90s, and beyond. But here's the flip side that's equally important. Loneliness is toxic. As a matter of fact, it can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So it raises your cortisol levels, it increases inflammation, and accelerates the breakdown of brain tissue, okay, especially in memory-rich areas like the hippocampus. So when we talk about protective factors for dementia, I often talk about food, exercise, sleep, and stress management. And yes, those matter a lot. But connection, it may seem simple, right? But please don't underestimate its importance. Just because it's taken me a while to dedicate an entire episode to it, right? So now let's talk about the biology of bonding, of social bonding, because you know I love getting into the why and the science behind the what. So connection isn't just emotional, it's biological. There are literally brain circuits designed to regulate your social appetite, just like hunger or thirst. And it's called social homeostasis, meaning your brain has a set point for how much connection it needs. And when you fall below it, it triggers craving. But here's when it gets really interesting and actually a little scary. When that need goes unmet, okay, not just for a few hours, but for days, weeks, or months, it begins to change your brain. In other words, chronic isolation doesn't just make you feel bad emotionally, it actually rewires your brain, making it harder to connect again. So this is a vicious feedback loop. And that's why reconnecting after periods of isolation can feel so awkward and even a bit anxiety-provoking. We saw this play out on a massive scale during COVID-19, right? Older adults living in senior living facilities, isolated from visitors, from hugs, and familiar faces. They experienced accelerated cognitive decline within just months. And many of them who had been stable before the pandemic began showing symptoms of confusion, anxiety, and disconnection within months, right? Literally, we saw a failure to thrive. They stopped eating, they stopped smiling. It was really, really sad. So in my own bubble, I really kept an eye out for this with my parents in Michigan, my friends' parents, and the older members of the health club that I had just closed down. Okay, but it wasn't just the elderly, right? Younger people too, especially those who didn't grow up seeing healthy relationships modeled, really came out of the lockdown with no roadmap for connection. And as the psychiatrist and founder of Healthy Gamer GG, Dr. K explains, you spawned into the game of life and your tutorial didn't include social skills. I think that really hits the nail on the head. So he describes how a lot of people feel broken right now because they simply weren't taught how to build or maintain close relationships. So if your parents didn't model it, or you grew up online or isolated, how are you supposed to learn? Right? But here's the good news. These skills can be learned at any age. And with practice, people get better and better because your brain remains plastic throughout your life, right? We're talking about neuroplasticity here. So if you've been feeling a little withdrawn lately, Or if you're caring for someone with cognitive decline and you're feeling isolated, I want you to know this. It's not just in your head. It's in your biology. And there are ways to support it. Okay, so let's talk about how we connect. Clearly, not all social connections are created equal. And understanding this can help you be more intentional about building your social support network. Okay, so I want you to think of your connections in 3 circles. Circle number 1, the ones closest to you, your close connection. This is your inner circle. Usually, it's going to be fewer than 5 people. And these are the people you feel like you can be completely vulnerable with. These are your stabilizers, okay? The ones who know your story and you know they love you anyway. Okay? Circle number 2 are what are called common clusters. So think coworkers, gym friends, book clubs, neighbors that you chat with regularly, okay? You may only share part of your life with these people, but research shows that they're incredibly important for bringing new ideas and perspectives into your world. Okay? And then circle number 3 are coincidental contacts. So this would be like your barista at Starbucks, the cashier at the grocery store, the person you smile at during your walk, right? These might seem insignificant, but studies show that even these micro interactions can lower your blood pressure and reduce cortisol. And then here's what's fascinating. Researchers have found that when people listen to the same story, even at different times, their heart rates start to synchronize. So this suggests that shared experiences create physiological bonding, even when we're not physically together. Cool, huh? So this is why watching movies together, reading the same book, or even following the same news story can really create a sense of connection. Because our bodies are literally syncing up. Okay? So connection isn't just about having a BFF or a partner. It's really about weaving a rich social fabric that includes small, medium, and deep threads. And here's something crucial that most people don't realize. Healthy connection requires healthy boundaries. So, according to the psychotherapist and author Terry Cole, healthy boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to intimacy. So they help you teach others how to treat you, how to love and respect you, okay? And they prevent the kind of emotional burnout that often leads to withdrawal. And to open the door to connection, we also need vulnerability. And as Brene Brown says, in order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to be seen. Really seen. So, it's risky, but that's where the magic happens. All right? So, what can you actually do with this information? I'm going to give you 3 evidence-based strategies you can implement starting today. Strategy number 1, the daily connection touch. So here, I want you to text, call, or reach out to one person in your close circle, your inner circle, every day. And it doesn't have to be long. We're talking even a simple thinking of you message can light up the bonding circuits in both your brains. and releases oxytocin. Strategy number 2, practice micro connections. So make eye contact with your barista or compliment someone's outfit. Ask them, how's your day going? And actually listen to the answer. Okay, these are 30-second interactions that can add up to significant stress reduction over time. Okay, strategy number 3, the boundary check-in. So is there someone in your life who consistently drains your energy? I call these energy vampires. Is this a relationship where you feel resentful? That's your nervous system telling you a boundary needs attention. So if this is happening, I want you to ask yourself, what do I need here to feel respected and valued? Okay, and then communicate it clearly and kindly. We're coming from a place of compassion. Now, as I'm describing it, I'm making it sound really simple, right? But if you weren't taught how to create healthy boundaries, and really most of us weren't, then this could really be a challenge. But again, it's a skill, and it can be taught, and it can be developed and honed over time. And it's something I do with my clients all the time. Right? So strategy number 4 is to create shared experiences. So instead of just hanging out, try doing something together. Watch a documentary, take a cooking class, go for a walk in nature. I like going and hitting tennis balls, right? So shared activities, again, synchronize your nervous systems, and you get the opportunity to create deeper bonding than just talking. And then here's a bonus strategy, the loneliness reframe. So if you're feeling lonely, remember that craving is biology working correctly. It's your social homeostasis system telling you, I need connection. Okay, not that something's wrong with me. So loneliness, that feeling, is data. It's not a character flaw. Okay, again, remember, connection protects your brain. It also strengthens your immune system and can literally add years to your life. And the science is very clear here. Relationships aren't just the cherry on top of a good life. They're the foundation. All right? So if you're thinking, this really resonates, I want more of this, right? Deeper conversations, real community, practical tools, and support for thriving in this next chapter of your life. Or maybe you've got a deep ache for something you're missing. I want to invite you into something that's been in the works for the last 6 months. It's called Second Spring Society, and it's a new membership launching soon. So it's designed for women in midlife who are craving connection, meaning, and support for the next chapter. So this is a space to not only belong, but to practice. Practice vulnerability, friendship, laughter, listening, setting boundaries, forming healthy brain habits, figuring out your why, your purpose, and getting back in touch with the parts of you that may have been ignored for a while. Okay, so this is going to be a space for wisdom sharing, connection, and thriving during the menopause transition and beyond, right? What traditional Chinese medicine calls the second spring. So if you want to be part of this from the very beginning, all you have to do is join the priority list at moxie-club.com/society. So I'm going to be launching this to a small group of founding members. Okay, so these founding members will get instant access to pre-recorded materials. We'll have live calls, and they'll get lifetime access to the program as it evolves. And all for way cheaper than the future price. So I'm only going to let in about 20 founding members. So again, if you would like to be notified of when I open the doors to this, go ahead and click on the link below, and it will automatically add you to the priority list. Okay, so I'm only going to be inviting people on that list. So if you want in, just click the link in the show notes or the description below, or head over to moxie-club.com/society. Okay? Remember, connection protects your brain health, but not only that, it makes celebrating your wins more meaningful, and it makes your chances of success for implementing change much, much higher. All right? So I'll leave you with the following quote by Marcus Tullius Cicero. Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by the doubling of our joy and the dividing of our grief.